Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this regular call meeting of the Temple City Council for Thursday, March the 7th. Please rise. Pastor Jason Hamilton with the First United Methodist Church in Temple will lead us in an invocation, and Sandra Merrick, the Secretary of the Waco chapter of the Chapter 13 of the NAWC, will lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Hamilton, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Let us pray. Gracious God, we give you thanks for a beautiful early spring day. And yet, as the sun shines, we are mindful that we are in the season of Lent, and during this season, as we prepare our hearts for Easter and that glorious day, God, we ask that you would allow us to enter into a time of self-reflection, and that through that, God, we might grow closer to you and lend ear to your words. And may those words bring us wisdom this evening as we discuss important business that we pray will benefit your people. God, we give you thanks for all the many blessings that we enjoy. We thank you for your presence in this place, and we ask your guidance. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Okay, good.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well, don't go away. You're first up on the agenda.
Thank you.
No?
Ladies up?
Absolutely. Please, come on up. Well, welcome. We're glad to have you here with us this evening. I'll present this proclamation, and then we'll let you tell us a little bit about your organization, and each of you introduce yourselves, or we may introduce all of you, however you want to do that. From the Office of the Mayor of the City of Temple. Whereas the National Association of Women in Construction, the Waco Chapter number 14, has distinguished itself for 54 years as the voice of women in construction in the Central Texas area, to include Waco, Temple, Belton, and Killeen. Whereas the work performed by the Waco Chapter has benefited the Central Texas area through community development and educational programs. They have consistently promoted the employment and advancement of women in the construction industry. Whereas the construction community has been a driving force in fostering community development through the renovation and beautification projects, promotion of skilled trade careers, and a positive vision of the future. And whereas the Waco Chapter of the National Association of Women in Construction has sought to achieve successful results for Central Texas and the surrounding areas in a cooperative spirit with other organizations. And now, therefore, I, William A. Jones III, Mayor of the City of Temple, Texas, do hereby recognize Waco Chapter number 14 of the Association of Women in Construction and its many dedicated volunteers for its steadfast work in support of women in construction, and hereby proclaim the week of March 3rd through 9th of 2013 as Women in Construction Week in the City of Temple, Texas. And I call upon all citizens to congratulate the National Association of Women in Construction for its many accomplishments in the Central Texas area. In testimony whereof, I witness my hand on the seal of the City of Temple on this, the 7th day of March of 2013. And I offer this to you in appreciation for all the work that you do, and thanks, and best wishes in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm Sandy Mark with Action Fire Pros, and I'm the secretary, and this is our president.
My name is Rhonda Nebgen. I'm with Emerson Construction, and I'm the chapter president. Tell you a little bit about our association. We try to help both, kids, both boys and girls, through middle school, through college, to take interest in the construction industry. We're also a great support engine for the women that are currently in construction and the jobs that they hold. We offer scholarships, we do community service, we have a great, many educational programs for the kids. I'll let you introduce yourself.
I'm Pat Breen with Action Fire Pros. I'm Erin McNamara with McNamara Custom Services. I'm Angela Macklin with GCC Enterprises.
Ginger Richardson with the Associated General Contractors.
Sharon Dunlap with Dunlap Engineering and Surveying.
And Patty Short with Bear Creek Construction.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you all very much for being with us this evening. Next on our agenda is a recognition of the Temple Public Library for receiving the Achievement of Excellence in Libraries Award from the Texas Municipal Library Directors Association. And Ms. Lisa Youngblood, the Library Director for the City of Harker Heights, is here this evening to make that presentation. Ms. Youngblood, if you'll come forward, and I think Judy and any of your staff members that you have with you this evening, I know it's a full team over there that makes it all work, so. May I give you the microphone to use? Thank you, Mr. Youngblood.
Good evening.
I think you're on.
Hello? All right, great. Good evening. I am Lisa Youngblood. I'm the president of the Texas Municipal Library Directors Association. I am so honored to be here and to address this community as well as the City Council. I am so pleased because I've been asked to be here to give our most honored award. This is the 2012 Achievement of Excellence in Libraries to the Temple Public Library. This award is given to only a few libraries throughout the state. In fact, this year only 30 libraries throughout the entire state of Texas have received this award. In order to receive the award, Judy and her staff have exhibited a wide range of services, a wide range of collections, and a wide range of programs. In fact, you need to show excellence in not one, not two, but 10 areas of library service in order to receive this award. And also, you have to present something very nice like this to let us know exactly what you've been doing. So I would like to say congratulations to this community of Temple, to the council, the City Council of Temple, as well as the administration of the City of Temple, and to the Temple Public Library. Thank you, Lisa, for making that long trip down here and present that to us. We're so lucky to have the board member right here in our neighborhood. I did bring a light book because I know you think, well, how do you get these awards? Well, we had to show that we did 10 different areas, and we got it all in here, and we'll put this at the reference desk for 6 weeks or so if anybody wants to come by and see exactly what happened. I think the value of this award is it recognizes what the staff does, and it shows the breadth of what we do for the community, and it's also for us, it's kind of a two-pronged thing. One, it's a memory. I've now got 4 of these notebooks that show what we've been doing, and it's also in the back of my mind now, oh, we need something new in outreach, so we'll have something to put in our notebooks. So it's a good planning tool as well. We appreciate the support that we get from this community. It's tremendous. We wouldn't have the library we have if we didn't have that kind of support. So we thank the community, we thank the council.
Would you introduce your staff members?
This is Liz Grace, who's one of our reference librarians, and Judy Stover, who is our administrative assistant, and she's the one that made it look pretty.
Great. Ms. Youngblood, thank you very much for coming and presenting that this evening. We are very proud of our library, and Judy, congratulations to you and your staff. You have a great library, we have a great library, and you do a great job there. So thanks so much. Next on our agenda is a public appearance to receive comments from John Bailey and Alan Allenboden regarding the Lions Park Amphitheater project and renovating the current bathroom facilities.
Mayor,
Welcome.
you with the check.
All right, I knew I came here tonight for some reason.
So the Temple Baptist Foundation and the Lions, Temple Founders Lions, partnered on this effort to donate $70,000 to the City of Temple to construct an amphitheater at the old Lions Pool in Lions Park. So we wanted to present this to you, and then both of us have a few remarks to share with you.
This is incredible.
Thank you. Lions make Temple a great place. It's Team Temple. And all of the citizens, the organizations that work together, none stronger than the Lions Club. And what you've done for this community for so many years is just absolutely incredible. And it continues today. So thank you very, very much for this. This is amazing. And the old Paul just didn't have enough left over anymore. And so we threw it in, and now you found another use for it, and you've helped to stimulate another great use for that property and that space in Lions Park, and we appreciate that so much. Thanks for all that you do, and this is a big weekend for the Lions. The families is coming forward, and that's where a lot of the funds we made to give to projects like this. We realize that, recognize that, and I certainly encourage the entire community to come out and to the Lions Finals this weekend, Friday, Saturday, 2 shows on Saturday, 2 and 8 o'clock. Is that right? 8 o'clock? 7 o'clock. So 7 o'clock on Friday and Saturday. So thanks so much. This is incredible. We appreciate it so much, Aaron.
Lisa, do you want this? No, you're okay. I've already introduced you.
Okay, all right. First of all, I'd like to thank Mayor Jones and the City Council for the opportunity to say just a few words. I'm here as a member and past president of the Temple Lions Club and current president of Temple Lions Parks and Charities, Inc. We do have, if you can see, we have a number of lions. You can make them out just barely. Now, we have a number of members of the Lions Club. I would like to point out Lion President Glenn Brandt. There you are. And Lion Secretary Charles Stout. I wish I could introduce everybody. The Lion... You can't... I don't know their names. I don't know their names. You can introduce each one. That's great. Huh? Now you don't have to blow the heads, and I'll probably watch this. We're very proud of our long-standing partnership with the City of Temple, the Parks Foundation Board, the Parks Advisory Board, and how these entities have all worked together to enhance the quality of life in our community. Lions Pool is a project that, of course, I enjoyed as a kid and growing up here, but I have since come to fully appreciate as a Lion as one of our bigger projects and an investment in our community. While Lions, obviously, everybody was sorry to, like you said, pull and run its course, and it was necessary to close it. I can say that we are equally excited to reinvest and renew our commitment to this partnership with the city and the Parks Foundation with the addition of this amphitheater. We believe it will serve a large and diverse population in Temple, and we've heard from representatives of various fine arts, performing and fine arts groups who are equally excited to utilize this facility. And thank you for the opportunity to speak and for the city's support for past and future projects.
Thank you so much, John. Thanks, Lions.
I just want to say a couple of words about this project. To me, I've always thought that pool is an awesome place. There's not many pools in that kind of a setting, and that park is a beautiful park. So we've been honored to be able to partner with the citizens of Temple. The Parks Foundation Board has really been working hard over the course of several years. We sponsored several concerts. Of course, we do our movies in the park. We've asked a lot of people to help contribute to this effort. So there's a lot of work that's gone into that. But this facility will be a treasured amenity to our citizens for many years to come, and we hope that it will be the first of many outdoor performance venues in the city. The one thing I would like to do very briefly is to introduce the board members in attendance because of all the work that they've done to raise funds for this project. Mary Carlberg, Scott Allen, Justice Bigby, Linda Knight, although Linda might have had to depart, Doug Smith, Charlie Stout, Heidi Couchman, Gail Avotz, Barbara Cardinal-Sorge, and Sidney Fowler, and Mark Clardy. So we're very appreciative of all the work that our board members have done. We also very fortunate to be able to utilize the existing parks infrastructure in this project. The old Lions Pool is a perfect setting because of its natural slope around where the old pool used to be. However, we discovered in this effort that the bathroom facilities are in need of repair to correct foundational issues and to make the facilities ADA compliant. So we want to formally request the City Council consider funding the restoration of the restroom facilities to coincide with the opening of the amphitheater, which would be in the early summer, as far as I know as of today. And we believe that the cost of those repairs will be approximately $40,000. We think that's a minimal investment for the kind of amenity this will be for our community, and we think the citizens will be very appreciative of having proper restroom facilities when the amphitheater opens. So that concludes my formal remarks. If there's any questions, I know John or I would be happy to answer them.
Do we have any formal procedure right now as far as that project being a project? And if we don't have that being a for real project, can we set some one in charge of making that a project and a priority to fix those restrooms?
Yes. We can. I'm sure we can find some money in Ken's budget. Okay. All right. Alan, John, thank you very much. Thanks to the Lions. Have a great show this weekend. Break a leg or whatever you're supposed to do. And some of you probably will. Knowing the show. But looking forward to it, I think, a great deal. Appreciate it. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is an opportunity for public comment. Citizens who desire to address the council on any matter may sign up to do so prior to the meeting. Public comments will be received during this portion of the meeting. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes, and no discussion or final action will be taken by the city council at this time. And I'll ask Mr. C.J. Grisham to come up, and we'll wait till the Lions get out so we can get everybody's attention. Thank you for being here, Mr. Grisham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, George Russell once famously said, to disown is to enslave. And I kind of want to use that as the topic of what I want to talk about today. How sad it is that we live in a time when our federal government has taken upon itself powers and authorities that does not rule as their own in their Constitution. As I speak, there are those who have taken an oath to defend that sacred document, they are systematically trying to dismantle it. Right now, there are less than 6 bills signed in various committees designed to relegate the constitutional rights of the citizens of this great country, this great state, and this great city. Specifically, I'm talking about the right to keep and bear arms. At the end of 1773, King George and the British Parliament were very furious about the colonies and what had happened at the Boston Tea Party. As a result of that, using that crisis, he decided to pass what was called the Coercive Act. The Coercive Act did several things. First of all, it disbanded all the local governments, and King George installed who he wanted to be to rule over the people. The second thing it did was that it allowed or forced people to house and quarter troops. And then the other thing it did was allow British officials from criminal prosecution. So the British government quickly realized that now they're opening all that, they've got to somehow overcome this armed populace. How did they do that? First, what they did was they stopped the import of black powder. High-capacity magazines. Seized all of the powder kegs that were still out there in the hands of the populace. Then they began to do a general relentless search of every single house and took all of the weapons and ammunition that they could find. So for that, we're exactly at that point where we've got stormtroopers coming through our door. We're actually undergoing efforts in that process. 204 years later, our rulers in Washington, headed by the uncrowned King Obama, are attempting to do this very same thing. In response to heinous acts by disturbed and evil individuals, Congress thinks that if they just deprive people of their black powder, they can restore a semblance of order. Bills have been submitted to ban certain types of ammunition carriers or magazines that can hold an arbitrary number of rounds. Another seeks to ban certain scary-looking weapons because in spite of the fact that they're only used in 2% of crimes. Another has to force Americans to register their weapons that are to be grandfathered. Another has to force you to perform background checks if you want to sell a gun weapon to a neighbor, friend, or distant family member. And another seeks to ban our fundamental right to privacy through more aggressive background checks that would require guys like me, who have openly suffered from PTSD, from being able to exercise all rights because somehow I'm mentally incapable of holding a gun. One of those will solve all the problems this country faces. We can only have count on the federal government to secure rights granted by God Almighty and recognize as inalienable in our federal documents. It is now up to the states and the local governments to modify these unconstitutional acts. Numerous cities throughout the country and the state of Texas have passed resolutions recognizing our right to keep and bear arms. Again, isn't that sad? They have to do that? These resolutions make it clear that law enforcement and elected officials are directed to fulfill the oath of office to support and defend all of the Constitution of the United States and the state of Texas. It's a sad day again when we pass these resolutions that recognize these fundamental rights. However, the only way the federal government is going to authoritate on its collective fifth point of contact is for the states and the people to invoke their 9th and 10th Amendments. Rights. I present a copy of that proposal to several members of the council, the city manager, and the city attorney for review, and we'll leave you with a few quotes of the founding fathers. During the birth of the several state constitutions were decided to adopt the federal constitution, Zachariah Johnson said that, quote, "The people are not to be disarmed of their weapons. They are in full possession of them." Samuel Adams eloquently stated upon ratification that the said constitution has never construed to authorize Congress to infringe the just liberty of the press or the rights of conscience or to prevent the people of the United States who are peaceable citizens from keeping their own arms, unquote. We're not talking about the two that God attached to our torsos. He's talking about weapons when he says arms. Thank you for your time. I look forward to working with the council to pass this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Grisham. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, item A through J. All items listed under this section, consent, are considered to be routine by the city council and may be enacted by one motion. If discussion desired by the council, any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of the council member, and it will be considered separately. Council, this is item 5A through J. Any items that you wish to be removed from the consent agenda for discussion, voting, or presentation purposes? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval, or a motion on items 5A through J.
Motion for approval.
Second. Motion second for approval of 5A through J. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Secretary.
Councilmember Cloud?
Aye.
Representative Dunn?
Aye.
Councilmember Schneider?
Aye.
Councilmember Morales? Aye. Mayor Jones?
Aye. Item 6 is a first reading and a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing a zone change from planned development with specific uses of shopping center and housing development to commercial on approximately .52 acres of Creekside Planned Development, Temple, Bell County, Texas, according to the plat recorded in volume 1528, page 813 of the real property records of Bell County, Texas, located at 3602 Southwest H.K. Dodge and Loop. Ms. Spear.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a rezone tonight, so it's a little different than we've seen prior to the conditional use permits for the billboard signs. So this is just a straight rezoning to this property. The applicants requested this. Right now, there is a planned development on this site with specific uses for shopping center and housing development. However, it's built out as a storage facility, and so the current zoning that's on does not meet that, but the proposed commercial zoning will bring this site into compliance. These are some images of the surrounding property owners. This is north of the property, more of the storage facility. South across H.K. Dodge and Loop. Surrounding property owners east. and then west, the State Farm building. The future land use map designates this area all as auto urban commercial. Auto urban commercial is appropriate for commercial uses. It's generally concentrated at intersections and along major roads. Versus strip development, it's the dominant development pattern along HK Dodge and Leap, and it does call for better landscaping around frontages and build-to lines rather than large setbacks. The commercial zoning district permits all retail and most commercial land uses, including auto dealerships, building material sales, light manufacturing, and heavy machinery sales and storage. It's intended to serve citywide or regional service areas, and it should be located along major highways, and it provides total on-site traffic. It should also be located at the intersection of major thoroughfares. Some of the uses that are permitted in commercial include retail service and sales, auto parts sales, restaurants, mini storage warehouse, and then off-premise signs. And that is the purpose for this rezoning, the dual purpose. Some things that are prohibited are most of your industrial uses, asphalt or concrete batch plants, wrecking yards, and then refineries and plants of that nature. Now I'll tell you a little bit about the sign that's proposed. The sign, once the zoning is in place, the sign will meet the minimum requirements for billboards along the loop. The material standards will be met, the dimensional standards will be met. They're a bit smaller than the I-35 signs, and the setback standards will be met as well. The project location, we looked at some of these images in the workshop just to give you a clearer understanding of where the sign's going to go. It's going to go behind the existing security mini storage warehouse sign in the grassy area behind the parking. This is a superimposed image of how that might look provided by the applicant. This is a view from Loop 363 overpass traveling west, again provided by the applicant. Photo from the overpass traveling east. Another view of that. This is a look that shows you the building behind it that is in opposition of this request. And then again, another image of how the billboards line up across the loop. This sign is a relocation sign, so they are relocating a sign on I-35. This one will be put in place of that, so this one will be counted towards that relocation count. This sign that they're taking down is the sign that's at Enterprise Road and railroad tracks. It's being removed part of the textile expansion. The surrounding property owners, we noticed 9 property owners. We did receive 2 in opposition. Primarily for the visibility. Our understanding is the visibility that the sign will, lack of visibility that they will have once the sign is there, and the concern that it may be blocking the view of their structure and their sign. Staff does make a recommendation for approval of the zoning change. The zoning change is consistent with the future land use map. The proposed zoning is compatible with the surrounding uses, and the proposed zoning would eliminate a non-conforming use on the subject property. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this request on February 19th, and they voted 6-0 to recommend approval to the proposed zoning change as well. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Spear. Council, questions or comments on this item before going to public hearing?
Go ahead.
My comment that I am concerned about the view from the 2-story office building, and the sign will be about 50 or 60 feet from their building, and I think could potentially block their view and be detriment to their property.
I was just going to ask if we could see that picture again to see if it's blocking. I think that's one of the...
Is this there's this image? That's one.
Backup one, right there.
What would it be blocking?
There's the blue right there.
Okay. So they're below that sign?
That's the understanding I have, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? If not, this item requires a public hearing, and I'll declare the public hearing open at this time. Anyone wishing to speak before the council on this item, please come forward and state your name and address for the record prior to making your comments. Seeing no one wishing to speak, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Council, your pleasure for item 6 on the first reading.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second for approval of the zoning change request for the property described in the description. There's no further discussion. Madam Secretary.
Councilmember Cloud?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Dunn?
Aye.
Councilmember Schneider? Councilmember Morales?
Aye.
Mayor Jones?
Aye. Item 7 is a first reading and a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing amendments to Ordinance 2010-4413, the Temple Unified Development Code in its entirety to address personal title changes, Article 1, General Provisions, Article 2, Development Review Bodies, Article 3, Subdivision Plat Review, Article 5, Use Standards, Article 6, Special Purpose and Overlay Zoning Districts, Article 7, General Development Standards, and Article 8, Subdivision Design and Improvements. Ms. Spear.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this is what it did look like. So we shortened it quite a bit for this evening, but I'll go through each of the changes. The personnel title changes that we had for the entire Unified Development Code have to do with changing the Director of Construction Safety to the Chief Building Official, and then changing the Director of Community Services to the Director of Planning. So those are some overarching changes. In Article 1, we also are addressing the general provisions so that we can tighten up, if you will, our enforcement capabilities to get zoning violations and code violations to court, and this was requested on behalf of legal staff. And so this will help them prosecute violators of the Unified Development Code. Article 2, the development review bodies, we added in the I-35 appeal. That final action is by City Council. There's a list that wasn't added into before, and that we also cleaned that up. In Article 3, we amended the application process to add a general application process, just to give an outline of how our procedures generally flow, just to add that. We also set up some parameters for a pre-application process for platting and subdivisions. We established requirements for preliminary plats for certain residential subdivisions over a specific size, so that we can really get in there and make sure that we have what we need as far as parkland and drainage and utilities. And these are for larger holdings of land. And then we amended the detailed list of site plan requirements. We had created a very detailed list, but we really rely on our checklist, and so we wanted to keep that in line with the rest of the ordinance requirements. So we're amending that. In Article 5, in use standards, we simply are clarifying that to have a new single-family manufactured home, which is permitted in the agricultural district, you have to have 1 acre. And so we're clarifying that because you have to go to 3 different places to find it. So this will just make it a little easier. In Article 6, we are referring all of our special overlay districts, rather than having a variety of landscaping sections in these overlays, we're referring for the most part to Article 7. So the Unified Development Code now will adopt the drought-tolerant species adopted by the Parks Advisory Board, so we're all on the same page, and all of the tree lists and the shrub lists and the grass list all match. And so that's what those changes are doing. And then we're making a minor clarification. Tilt wall was not a permitted primary material in freeway commercial sub-districts in I-35, and so we're making that a primary material. It was left out. In Article 7, we're clarifying sidewalk requirements as they relate to the building permit process. We're also, again, creating that general planting criteria to define what plants are permitted. We're addressing lighting requirements. Right now, glare is only addressed for light industrial and heavy industrial, so we're putting that requirement for all zoning districts so that we can have some enforceability for that. And then we're addressing wall sign placement. We had a rule that the wall sign had to be a minimum 10 feet from the ground, but we have quite a few shorter buildings that prohibited the wall sign or made it very tricky to place. So we're adding in something to address that. Article 8 We are proposing some changes that we've talked about for a while now for the fire safety code exceptions for fire hydrants in the ETJ, setting up some parameters for that. We're adding some references to the Chapter 12 Fire Safety Code. It's inferred now, but now it's very clear with these amendments. We're clarifying the sidewalk requirements as they relate to platting, and then their applicability in industrial parks, or actually lack thereof of applicability, but making it very clear when sidewalks are required and what requires them. And then we're amending the cost sharing for sidewalks. This has been a policy that we've been put in place. The Unified Development Code, when it was adopted a few years back, made a change to the original subdivision ordinance that we've been still working under, but this just puts the language back the way it was supposed to have been. And then we've added an exception for park dedication requirements in the ETJ as well, if you meet some certain parameters. We have one or two lots that come in the ETJ, and they always come in for an exception for fire hydrants and park fees, and so those are what those are really set up for. We took all those forward to the Planning and Zoning Commission on February 19th, and they recommended approval of all, 6-0. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Beer. Council, questions on the item? There being none, this item requires a public hearing. I declare the public hearing open at this time. Anyone wishing to speak before the council on the item, please come forward, state your name and address for the record prior to making your comments.
John Busham, 4365 Airport Trail. My question kind of pertains to Article 5. Is that an existing standard that's just being clarified, or is that a new standard?
It's an existing standard. It's just, you have to know 3 places to go to find it.
Never mind.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing no one else wishing to speak, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Council, your pleasure on the first reading of the changes as requested.
Make a motion for approval.
Second. Motion and second. Further discussion? Being none, Madam Secretary.
Councilmember Cloud?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Dunn?
Aye.
Councilmember Schneider?
Aye.
Councilmember Morales?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye. Item 8 is a first reading and a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance designating a tract of land consisting of approximately 29.822 acres located at the southeast corner of North Loop 363 and I-35 as the City of Temple Tax Abatement Investment Zone Number 26 for commercial industrial tax abatement. Mr. Graham.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. This is an ordinance on first reading under state law to create a tax abatement reinvestment zone. It requires an ordinance creating that zone. We're required to give notice to other taxing entities 7 days prior to the meeting, which has been done. This ordinance would create our 26th commercial tax abatement reinvestment zone. That designation would last for 5 years. By itself, that doesn't create tax abatement or grant tax abatement, but allows you the possibility of considering tax abatement in that area. The property in question is about a 29.822 acre tract, and it's located at the southeast corner of North Loop 363 and the frontage road on the east side of North I-35. And that's a depiction of the property, and that's turned on its side. But just a little background again on tax abatement reinvestment zones. They do last for 5 years, but an agreement under state law for tax abatement within that area can exceed the life of that zone, so it can be up to 10 years. And it's the first step in allowing an increased tax abatement or tax abatement on the increase in property value. And this particular zone is set up to do commercial or industrial tax abatement, and we're working with TDC on a particular project, and we anticipate being able to bring something to you on the second reading of this ordinance, which is what would put this reinvestment zone in place if you approve it on first and second reading. These zones are regulated by Chapter 312 of the Tax Code. In order for a property to be eligible for abatement, it must either be in one of these zones or an enterprise zone. And there are certain, go ahead, sorry.
There's certain criteria under state law and under the criteria and guidelines for tax abatement that you approve every 3 years that must be met, and this zone does meet our criteria for creating or designating a tax abatement reinvestment zone. And the ordinance that you have before you makes certain findings about that designation that benefits to the city, and it's likely to result in the retention of either primary employment or the creation of new jobs, and it's also likely to lead to the creation of new real personal property. We believe it does. This is an undeveloped tract, and the creation of these incentives could lead to jobs and new property tax improvements, or property improvements, and as I said earlier, our other taxing entities that have levy taxes in that area have been given prior notice of your consideration of this ordinance on first reading. And I'll entertain any questions you might have.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council questions on the item? There being none, this item requires a public hearing, and I'll declare the public hearing open at this time. Anyone wishing to speak before the council on the item, please come forward and state your name and address for the record prior to making your comments. Seeing no one wishing to speak, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Council, your pleasure, first reading on the ordinance designating the tax abatement reinvestment zone number 26. Motion to approve. Second. Motion and second. Any further discussion? Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Cloud?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Dunn?
Aye.
Councilmember Schneider?
Aye.
Councilmember Morales?
Aye.
Mayor Jones?
Aye. Next item is item 9, relating to board appointments. Consider adopting a resolution appointing members to the following city boards and commissions. I'll just read through them, and then we can go through and designate those particular appointments that are open. Building and Standards Commission, 2 members to fill expiring terms through March 1st of 2015, 3 alternate members to fill expiring terms through March 1st of 2015. Building Board of Appeals, 2 members to fill expiring terms through March 1st of 2017. The Development Standards Advisory Board, 3 members to fill expiring terms through March 1st of 2016. The Electrical Board, 3 members to fill expiring terms through March 1st of 2016. Parks and Leisure Services Advisory Board, 3 members to fill expiring terms through March 1st of 2016. The Temple Public Safety Advisory Board, 3 members to fill unexpired terms through September 1st of 2013. The Tree Board, 1 member to fill an expiring term through March 1st of 2016. And the Zoning Board of Adjustments, 2 members to fill expiring terms through March 1st of 2015, and 2 alternate members to fill expiring terms through March 1st of 2015. Let's start with Building and Standards Commission. We have 5 terms expiring, 2 regular members, and 3 alternate members. The regular members are Kevin Bonner and Jonathan Tony Gallagher, and we have 3 alternate members, Alan Horn, Ed Laughlin, and Marianne Rojas. All of these members are eligible for reappointment, and they wish to be reappointed. Under the Building Board of Appeals, we have 2 expiring terms, Ralph Hernandez, who's under the classification of a master plumber, and Ben Malden, who is also under the classification master plumber, and they are both eligible for reappointment, and they wish to be reappointed. Under the DSAB, Development Standards Advisory Board, we have 3 terms expiring, and one of those individuals is eligible for reappointment. Mr. Monty Clark is eligible for reappointment and wishes to be reappointed, and I'll entertain recommendations for individuals to fill those other 2 positions. And you don't need to do it in the form of a motion. If you'll just list them, and then if it's your pleasure, we can take one motion to do all of them.
I would say in the general construction, be Gary Freitag with Omega Builders, and then in the utility construction, that would be Bruce Flanagan with Flanagan Construction.
Okay, Council, if there's no objections to those 2 recommendations, we'll just move on to the Electrical Board, 3-year terms, and 3 terms expiring. Tony Davis, Kramer Myers. Those are expiring, but they are eligible for reappointment, and they are wishing to be reappointed, and we have one vacant position by an individual who's left the area. And I think it's recommended that since that was a TXU delivery rep, that we appoint the current TXU or Encore area manager to that particular position, and that name is Willie Leos. Parks and Leisure Services Advisory Board, 3 terms expiring, and none of them are wishing to be reappointed at this time, so I'll entertain recommendations for the filling of those 3 terms expiring in 2016.
I've got 2, Elaine McCoy and Mary McGlory.
Okay. So a recommendation for a 3rd individual?
Mike Pilkington.
Any objections or anybody else wish? Okay. We'll move on to Tubble Public Safety Advisory Board. We have 3 unexpired terms, and there are vacancies at this point, and they must be a Temple resident. We have, I believe, 2 individuals. Did you get that application in the second individual?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 2 individuals who are wishing to be appointed, Adam Sorholtz and Joyce Adams, for those 2 of those 3 unexpired terms, and they would be expiring September 1st of 2013. The tree board is one expiring term, and that individual is not eligible for reappointment. He's termed out. And is there a recommendation for that particular term?
Hey, Lynch.
Any other recommendations? Is that satisfactory, Council? And the Zoning Board of Adjustment, 4 terms expiring, 2 regular members and 2 alternate members. Ed Laughlin and Matt Nagley are eligible. Mr. Nagley is termed out, and then the 2 alternate members, Joel Amos and Cynthia Martinez, are both eligible for reappointment. So Ed Laughlin as a regular member, and Joel Amos and Cynthia Martinez as alternate members are eligible for reappointment and wish to be reappointed. So we have 1 opening for a regular member. Is there a recommendation for that position?
Blake Pitts.
Okay. And he is the only one we have with a board form on file at this time, so Council, we have recommendations for those positions as identified, either eligible for reappointment or as recommended by Council. It's your pleasure. We can take those collectively or individually, your pleasure.
Mayor, were we going to maybe call Bill Bogucki as far as maybe for the Temple Safety Advisory Board, if you might want to?
Yeah, Lacey will contact him, and then if he agrees to have his name put on the application for that particular one, we'll bring that one back at a later date. Thank you, Bill. So we can take these all together or separately? Your choice. Okay.
Make a motion to approve the recommended nominations of the different boards.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
And a second. If there's no further discussion, Madam Secretary.
Councilmember Paul?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Dunn?
Aye.
Councilmember Schneider?
Aye.
Councilmember Mallon?
Aye.
Mayor Jones?
Aye. And you got all the names?
Yes, sir.
All right, good deal. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this evening's agenda. I thank you very much for your attendance and participation. This meeting is adjourned.